Hi everyone, welcome to Tsubaki Nakashima 2025 financial result presentation. I am Itaru Matsuyama, CEO of Tsubaki Nakashima.
I'm Yoichi Ueda, CFO of Tsubaki Nakashima.
This is an English version presentation. We just had a Japanese version of the presentation just to make sure we can communicate with the English-speaking audience and investors. We wanted to have the English version of it. We have 4 chapters to cover. First is long-term improvement perspective, meaning kind of quick revisit of the midterm business plan or 5-year plan, which we shared last year, and the meaning or the positioning of 2025 in it. Then after that, Yoichi will cover 2025 results, and then it will come back to me and I will cover 2026 forecast. Then as a third chapter, we will cover the deep dive of the Quality Compliance Committee and sustainability, and we will wrap up with the summary. So starting with the long-term perspective. This is a kind of roadmap of the 5-year plan from 2025 to 2029. Last February, we published it and presented at the IR presentation. This is showing the timeline of the 5 years and the steps of the improvement and the turnaround or transformation of Tsubaki Nakashima as our plan. So as you can see, and as I presented last year, the first year or two is positioned as a time for kind of hunker down and plant the seeds and prepare for the future recovery and growth. So it's really identifying the structural deeper issues, really ironing out them, and develop the foundation of the company, which will enable the future turnaround. That includes reduce the inventory, establish the capability of the leadership team, start a solid managing process and KPI, and start the execution of the value creation drivers, especially the cash generation and cost reduction. Then after that, in the middle, we say launching phase. So we will continue to push the cost reduction, profitability improvement, and we will continue the culture strengthening of the employee body. Then we will be ready for the later years, steady state or kind of flourishing or full-scale improvement with more growth, full potential growth, and the profitability improvement. So as a 2025, it's the year 1. So we really focused on this, really identifying and solving the structural problems, setting up the foundation. And this is the revisit of the summary slide of the midterm business plan. At the top, it is a financial target as a numbers. In the second layer, it shows the strategic directions, 3 of them. First one, tighten up the cost structure. We have to be really cost competitive. And the second item is redefine or refocus the growth pillars, including pricing. And third, on the right, is the cash flow improvement, including the inventory reduction. Based on that, the third layer is the 6 value creation drivers or pillars we set. So I will breaking it down in the next few pages. And at the bottom is the enabler or foundation, which will enable all these transformation and value creation. So year 1, we not only starting and launching all the execution of the 6 pillars, it was very important to make a lot of changes at the bottom. So some of the examples, we strengthen the global leadership team, talents, and capabilities, and change the managing process, starting the managing the BU or function review process monthly, or setting the KPI to quantify and visualize the progress of the value creation. And also, most importantly, strengthening the employee body by the training and enhancing the culture and behavior. Launching the new purpose, vision, mission, value, and working on the engagement, improving the morale of the employees. So we are making a solid progress in that area as well. One example I wanted to feature is the engagement survey. So the score we got was, it's around 7. So now we are hitting the industry benchmarking level as an industrial manufacturing company. So we came to just a normal average level now, but it's a big improvement. 2 years ago, when we had the same survey, the positive score was almost by half, very low. So clearly, it wasn't a healthy level in terms of the employee motivation, trust to the company, and engagement. So we have been able to make a solid progress in all those foundation factors. Now, visiting the actual progress of the value creation driver, we made a solid progress. In general, it's on track. Depending on the driver, some are overachieving, some are slightly missing, but as a total, in average, it's making a good progress and delivering the target. On the left-hand side, you can see the list of the value creation driver. In the middle, it shows the 2029, the year 5 target numbers in billion yen. And the right-hand side, the blue bar on the right shows, or blue line shows the target of 2025. And we showed the progress, the actual impact we piled up by each quarter by the bar chart. As you can see, the footprint optimization, we haven't published the announcement or any specific actions yet, but undercurrent, we have been working on all the planning and preparation. And number 2, the procurement cost reduction, it's making a good progress, mainly the steel price, but the indirect as well. So we have been able to deliver 0.4 billion yen impact. The target was 0.2 billion yen. So it's over-delivering, not exactly double, but significantly over-delivering the impact. It's making a good progress. Number 3, the productivity improvement, reducing the manufacturing cost by simplification, standardization, some automation and digitalization, improve the speed of the manufacturing, increase the throughput of the manufacturing, and also reducing the scrap or waste of the usage of the material. So piling up these small improvement, and in total, we are making 1.3 billion yen, which is over-delivering the original target of 1.1 billion. So making a solid progress in the cost reduction side, and the pricing didn't hit it, but it's really close. The target of 0.34 versus the actual is 0.33. It's a selective price increase. We cannot do it for the entire products because there is a mainstream products which is difficult. But for some of the selected products which are more differentiated with the unique values, we are selectively increasing the price. So that's making a good progress. Growth drivers, I will feature that later. And at the bottom is the working capital reduction and cash conversion cycle reduction. That's making a big progress, especially including the write-down of the inventory. The target was minus 17 days. Including that write-down, it's over 60 days reduction, so the huge progress. But that portion of the write-down doesn't generate the cash. So if we eliminate that part, it's 11 days. So still making a certain degree of the progress. So across the board, it's a solid progress so far. And 2026 target is on the next page. Same format, but in the middle, we show the 2026 impact as a target, as a pink lines on top of the 2025. So we will continue driving the cost reduction further, and growth, so the planting the seed is now making a good progress. So we want to start to deliver gradually the growth to recover the revenue. So that is the midterm plan, long-term perspective, big picture, and 2025 in it. Let me switch to Yoichi for 2025 results.
Thank you, Itaru. Let me start with the key takeaway on the financial result and business operation for 2025. So as you see in the highlight, the first point that I would like to emphasize is we generated the free cash flow of all-time high, which is about 11.6 billion that I will detail in the next slide. But this is enabled by shortening cash conversion cycle, curbing CapEx, and also coming from a couple of land and asset sales. So combined, we are generating all-time high free cash flow. And at point number 23, we recognize that the business environment is not easy. It's very challenging. Market demand is down, competition is high. However, we are countering that with kind of good operational control and cost management. So in that, basically, we are countering the external challenge. So if you see in the number 4 and number 5, 2025, we incurred significant loss, which is the inventory write-down and goodwill impairment. But as Itaro mentioned, this is one time, and also this is non-cash item. So this does not affect the business performance of 2026. So the key message within the number 5 is about, for the year of 2026, we are coming back to the trajectory of the midterm plan, which is the operating profit of 2.5 billion yen, as we initially communicated in last year. So that's basically the key message, that we will be coming back to the trajectory of the growth of midterm plan in 2026. In this slide, I'll talk about the free cash flow, how we have generated our all-time high free cash flow. If you look at the very right, the free cash flow in 2024 was about 1 billion. And last year, 2025, free cash flow was 11.6. So roughly, we are generating 10 billion yen of free cash flow. How did we enable that? There's 4 factors. One is about the inventory. So we reduced inventory about 4 billion. And this 4 billion does not include the inventory write-down. So this is purely operational. So we operationally reduced inventory, repurposed inventory to generate cash flow. The second item is about the account payable. So we are successfully extending the term in account payable, and we are generating about 0.5 billion cash. The third item is about the capex. So we successfully examined and controlled the capex. The impact is about 2 billion. And number 4, this is not in this slide, as I mentioned. There's a couple strategic asset sales items, including the linear carve-out business, and also the land sales with Thailand, and the sales of specific stocks. That generated over 3 billion yen. So combined of these 4 reasons, we have generated that 10 billion yen of the free cash flow. This is a historical trend of the free cash flow, because we have shifted gear from, really the cash flow as a key priority in the management. So we want to also show what the historical cash flow looks like. So if you look at 2025, in all quarter, you will see the positive free cash flow, which is really great progress. And if we look for the past 2022 and 23, you see a significant cash out. So combined 2022 and 23, we roughly lost 11 billion yen of cash flow in 2 years. However, for 2024 and 25, we basically piled up about 12.6 billion cash. So basically, we are recovering all the negative cash flow in 2022 and 2023 in the past 2 years. And this will continue. Obviously, 2025 is the first year to look into the, inventory and so on. So we have a bigger impact. But going forward, we still have a room to improve the efficiency in inventory, account receivable, account payable, working capital. So we continue to track this cash flow as a key enabler in the future. And I'll touch on the P&L, which we talk about how does it compare to last year and the guidance. So I'll just focus on the middle line, actual, the 2025 full year. So revenue was 69.8 billion, which was minus 8.6% year over year. And versus the guidance, we are about 2% lower. If you look at the operating profit, it was minus 22.2 billion. And obviously this included the one-time item, the inventory write-down, and also the impairment. If we exclude that item, our OP was about 0.9 billion, which is basically in line with what we have communicated as guidance, which is about 1 billion. And one thing to note is about the tariff impact. This is for the interest of the investors. So we estimate that the direct impact from tariff is about 0.1 billion, which is really hitting our operating profit as we cannot pass it through the customers. And indirect impact is approximately 1 billion, which is basically hitting our sales because of the demand increase. And this is a full year sales by region. So this trend does not have a big difference from what we disclosed from the quarter 3. Basically, with total company declining minus 8.6%, the two regions is recording double-digit decline. One is Europe, where we have a tough market condition, market demand down, as well as a share loss because of that severity of the market. And the other region is about Asia, excluding China, where we see the share loss in our ceramic business in Thailand, where we lost share in the EV market for China. However, if we look into the quarter 4 result, we see a sign of bottom out for selected market or several markets. So if you look at the quarter-on-quarter changes, you see Japan and Europe and China are basically growing versus the quarter 3, which is great. And the total precision component business, which is a ball business, we're also growing about 1.3%. And we expect this trend will continue toward the quarter 1 of 2026 to really get to that 2026 outlook. Now I turn to the growth segment. Again, the 2025 sales result for the full growth segment. Starting with India. India grew 18.5%. We missed the target, but the growth is solid and we continue to expect this growth. Aerospace and defense and EPC, which is the engineered plastic component, stalled in 2025. There's not much substantial growth. However, we are seeing the pipeline was built solidly, so we expect these two businesses will have a big growth in 2026. Ceramic faced a significant challenge, especially in the EV market that I will show in the next slide. But we have a sign of recovery in quarter 4, and then we see the bottom out in 2026 when we put the new product, which is the another line of ceramic business, and also we expand the sales activity. So we expect the ceramic business will bottom out in 2026. So this is a quarterly trend of ceramic business. As you see in the quarter 4 on the very right, you will see that in the bottom, EV sales is almost flattening or bottoming. And several segments, including machine tool, spindle, semiconductor, and others, is showing a substantial growth versus 2020, versus quarter 3. And this is a slide to explain the operating profit changes from last year. But before going to the change from last year, let me touch on the one-time item. So as you see in the right-hand side, the inventory variation reduction is about 6.5 billion. And then the impairment loss is about 16.7 billion. So excluding that, our operating profit is about 0.9 billion. And if we compare this 0.9 versus 0.8, the biggest factor is about the sales decline, which is about 3.1 billion. And we are countering that with a cost improvement. It's 1.7 billion. And this is actually net improvement, even including the market condition and others. We are net cost reducing. That is about, that is the improvement. And also with the inventory variation included in 2024, then we are showing similar level of OP between 2024 and 25. And on the right hand item, special item, I will pass it to Itaru for really touching these two items, including the background and our countermeasures.
The first item is the inventory write-down. So that is at 6.5 billion yen. We made an announcement, the timely announcement in the end of January.
big background behind this is really the historical reason. So in the past 5 to 10 years, or even longer, 15 years, Tsubaki Nakashima as a company hasn't been able to manage the inventory correctly, not in a disciplined way. So that's why the company accumulated the bad inventory, unsellable inventories, unfortunately, and that ended up with the big write-down. So what happened is after I joined the company in 2024 in summer, it's been an issue. So last 12 months, Yoichi and I started to spend time on the deep dive. So we took a look at the line-by-line inventory review, especially for the slower moving inventories, working closely with the BU leaders and plant managers. And we went to the plant and looking at the actual shelves and inventories, sometimes going to some of the outsourced warehouses of the inventories and checked the situation of the inventory. Do they really exist? Can we really sell it? Even if we sell it, can we sell it at the normal price? If not, can we sell it by the discount price? If so, how much discount? If we cannot sell it even by the discount, can we sell it to the other customers, other segments, other industries, or even other countries? So going through those one by one. If we're gonna sell still, can we regrind it and make the size smaller and still sell it? So we went through all those line by line by myself and by Yoichi, and went through the strict review of the old inventory. Based on that, we ended up making a decision that we cannot sell. The probabilities very, very low to sell for this 6.5 billion yen inventory. The background, the historical reason is on the left-hand side. The couple of the items. So it's not just single or two big reasons. There are several items. So I tried to pick up some of the most important ones. The first one is historical plant shutdowns, especially in Americas. When the company closed the plant, they didn't do the meticulous inventory review. They had a too optimistic forecast about whether and how much inventory they can sell. And number two is the too optimistic forecast based on customers' request or order, especially when they launch a new product. And there were some wrong customer contracts, and also in general, just demand forecast was too optimistic. That ended up buying too much materials or making too much inventory. So working on those one by one. And at the bottom, as a foundation, there is a deeper issue, which was too much emphasis on the P&L profit only incentive system or the culture. So some of the example, I heard the former management comments, quote unquote, OP, the operating profit is the most important thing. Don't look at the cash flow, don't care the inventory. The more the inventory, the better. So that was the shared message at one point in the history of this company. So we are really changing the culture. Because of all those background reasons, in the middle, here's what we did as a calculation and decision making. Reasons for the write-down. First thing is this evaluating, meticulously, strictly assessing the sellability or marketability. So went through that, can we sell even after the rework, just going through one by one. And the second at the bottom is, so the company didn't have a strict rule about the policy or threshold about certain period of the time. There was some rule for a certain chunk, but not all. So after certain years, it's strange to have certain inventory for more than 3 years or 5 years. So that should be some issues. It could be unsellable. So we set the strict rule about certain period of time. We will write it down to the material value or scrap value or zero. That will naturally make the pressure for the BUs to continuously review the aging inventories and sell as much as possible before the threshold. So preventive measures are on the right-hand side. That The detailed breakdown is on the next page. I don't want to go into every single detail, but just hitting the highlights of these 6 items. First one is we brought in some of the strong external talents in the leadership level and expertise level. So COO, Chief Operations Officer, CSO, Chief Supply Chain Officer, and the head of the inventory management. Those are the people who knew what good looks like, how we should set up the process and system. So we are starting the tight control of the inventory based on that. Number 2 is a clear policy. As I mentioned, certain years as a threshold. After that, we will write it down to the material value or scrap value. And after that, the zero value. We didn't cover all the inventory, so we are expanding it to cover all the product categories, and not only the finished products, but also the raw material and WIP material. And 3 is set the right KPI and the cadence, the managing process to review it. The inventory amount, inventory days, carving out the slow-moving inventories specifically, and reviewing it line by line with the plants and the BUs. And the 4th item is really the strengthening the discipline about we only buy for the amount that we can sell. In the past, it was different. Just accumulate without knowing the forecast. Sometimes the plant purchase the material too much. So the clear message is nope, we only manufacture and buy for the amount which we can sell. Then the 5th item is a deeper incentive fix. In the past, Tsubaki Nakashima's incentive, the bonus is aligned with the operating profit 100%. That made a wrong incentive to pile up the inventory to make the OP better on paper. That's kind of borrowing the money from the future. No, we don't do that. So we changed the incentive system. Last year was 70% cash flow. That led to a very strong message and incentive system change. Then the 6th item is not only the managers, but also to the frontline employees at the shop floor. We try to change the culture and behavior by communicating this the new concept of cash is king. We can only have the minimum required inventory amount. That is what we can sell. So repeatedly communicating and training the employees through the town hall meetings and training. Based on that, we will prevent the repetition of the issue. The second item is the impairment loss. So that was 16.7 billion impairment write-off. So the majority is the goodwill. So 15 billion is goodwill, and the rest is fixed asset. This is the historical background as well. So the big amount of the goodwill happened twice. 20 years ago, when with the private equity fund, when the MEBO, the buyout happened, and the Tsubaki Nakashima was privatized, there was a calculated value of the company and goodwill. And also 10 years ago, there was the acquisition of NN. That time, there was an acquisition price, and that led to the goodwill. So that was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So we revisited and strictly reviewed and reassessed the current plans and the cash flow and the future value of the goodwill and fixed asset. Based on that, we decided that that amount of the goodwill 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it doesn't match with the current reality. So we decided to cut down the value of it. So that's a big background. Some of the specific drivers is on the left-hand side. The major drivers is one, it's really the Europe market, especially in the automotive. As I mentioned in last year's presentation, it's an environmental challenge where automotive industry in Europe, especially the automotive European OEMs are struggling. When the next layer, the bearing manufacturers, our main customers, established players are also struggling, facing the competition from the Asian lower cost bearing manufacturers in Europe. And also the ball manufacturers are facing the competition from the Asian competitors as well. So European market, the more fierce competition, and also the ceramic growth
is facing stronger competition from the Chinese competitors as well. So that is a big difference of the environment recognition versus even 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So based on that, making a realistic adjustment is what we have done. As it says it at the bottom, it doesn't necessarily mean the change of the strategy. So strategy stays the same, midterm plan stays the same. Europe is still the biggest region, very important region, and we will continue to protect the share, improve the profitability, gradually shifting the focus to more higher value, higher precision, higher quality segments. Ceramic is the same, even though the EV, especially in China, is getting tougher. Still, we will continue to fight back and protect the share and profitability in non-China market and also the industrial, especially the higher end markets. So based on all that, 2026 guidance is this. As a revenue, we will plan to deliver pretty much the flat. So 70 billion Japanese yen. And also the profit, as I mentioned, all those big loss, the impairment loss and write down of the inventories, those are one-time items, temporary, without cash impact. So that will be gone. So through all the profitability improvement, we aim for 2.5 billion yen operating profit. And also, we are aim to deliver turning the profitability of the net profit, 0.5 billion yen. So that is 2026 guidance. And another point I wanted to touch on is at the bottom with the asterisk. So for the dividend, as we mentioned in last year's presentation, the initial few years are really hunkering down and planting the seed. So we intend to hold the dividend as 0. We prioritize strengthening the financial base by enhancing the internal recovery of the cash. And breakdown of the growth segment as a sales in 2026. So we will recover the growth in all the segments. Ceramic, not a huge growth. It's a single digit, but we get back to the growth trajectory. And other segments, India, aerospace and defense, plastic, we aim for the double-digit growth. So behind the scene, we have been really working on driving and recovering this growth driver. I pretty much overhauled the majority of the talents in the commercial team. We have a stronger sales leaders, sales reps, and a lot of the conversation has been happening with the customers about new application, new products, some of the new segments as well. So the pipeline is filling gradually. So we will make sure that will lead to the actual sales and profit. Because just showing the number doesn't tell the nuance and granularity. I wanted to touch on some of the examples as a highlight. This is an example of the ceramic BU. So one example is on the left-hand side, the data center cooling fans. So ceramic is used for those smaller fan bearings because of the necessity for the precision, and especially for the quiet. The noise has to be very quiet. So we have a majority share in that market, and that is growing. So we will continue to provide a high precision, high performance, high quality, small size ceramic bowl in that market to continue to grow the share and profitability. And also on the right-hand side, some other segments. So I brought in a new president for ceramic BU, Juan Wu, since last year at the beginning. And she has been really revamping our sales capability and the sales activities, talking to major customers, finding and starting some of the key initiatives, the growth initiatives, some of the new segments, applications, and low-cost new products as well. And two other segments are aerospace and defense and plastic. Left-hand side, aerospace and defense is also making
some of the major progress undercurrent. Georgia is the designated aerospace and defense plant, and they have been working on all the groundworks, and they successfully secured the NADCAP certification for a few specialty processes that is critical for some of the high-end applications for aerospace and defense. We concluded it in last November. In parallel, the customers are aware of it, and now many customers are giving us an inquiries, visiting the plants for the qualification. So all those preparation activities are going on. And in the plastic, many new applications, the conversations are starting, but one example is this microfluidic plate. So that is a newer emerging technology for the blood or fluid testing in healthcare. And some of the partners has been talking to us, and we have started with them to develop some of the precision parts as a plates for those as a precision plastic injection molding. Now, I want to quickly touch on the two special topics, the Quality Compliance Committee and Sustainability. Quality Compliance Committee, that is a recap of what happened in 2024. Late 2024, we had the quality compliance issue. So we launched the Special Investigation Committee, and based on that recommendation and diagnosis, we started the Quality Compliance Committee to set up and structurally solve the quality compliance issue of the company. So there was a 5 work stream working on these initiatives in the middle. Now, in the past 12 months, we concluded and completed those activities and set up the system. Some of the highlights including the training of the managers, the training of the employees, including the training about the compliance, and also whistleblowing system, audit system, and some of the quality management system. So those actions are now completed, and now we are shifting to passing that to the ongoing regular quality management process to avoid the repeating the issue. Lastly, the sustainability. So we continue to reduce the carbon footprint and CO2 emissions. Some of the highlights of the 2025 was we obtained the level B of the climate change of the CDP. And also we have been continuing dozens of the projects which drive the further reduction of the carbon footprint and CO2 emissions, including some of the cost reduction as well. So that was the 3 chapters in detail. And let me hit 1-page summary as a wrap up, because it was a little bit long. So 4 points. As a long-term perspective, it's a 5-year plan. The initial few years is really the groundwork, really identifying the structural issues, ironing it out. At the same time, developing the foundation. We are making a good progress of that foundation development. From 2026, we will gradually shift to the delivery, the improvement of the profitability, and recovery to the growth. And second, as a midterm business plan, the value creation plan, it's making a solid progress. Many of the drivers are delivering the target in 2025. 2025 results, despite some of the big write-down, write-off of the impairment and of the inventory, excluding that one-time non-cash items, especially the cash flow was very strong, and also the profit was close to the target. And based on that, 2026, we will continue to drive the value creation, profitability improvement, and continue to drive the growth pillars. Based on that, the target, the guidance of 2026 currently is operating profit of 2.5 billion yen, and net income is 0.5 billion yen. So that is the 2026 guideline, and that's it for the 2025 financial result presentation. Thank you.